Ask anyone about who flew the first airplane in America, and you'll likely hear about the Wright brothers. And while it's true their flight at Kitty Hawk made history in 1903, it was 20 years earlier in San Diego that American aviation got off the ground, thanks to inventor John J. Montgomery. John Joseph Montgomery was born in Yuba City, California in 1858. A few years later, the family moved to nearby Oakland. In 1869, during a 4th of July parade, a young Montgomery was inspired as Frederick Marriott showed off his new invention, an airship called Aviator. Now obsessed with flying machines, Montgomery focused his attention on creating his own. By 1880, he earned a master's in science from San Ignacio College in San Francisco. Meanwhile, the Montgomery family decided to move to the Otay Valley in San Diego to set up a fruit ranch. In his father's barn, John created a makeshift lab and began designing his own aircraft. In August of 1883, he tested a flapping wing model and failed. But the following 2 years would prove more successful. Young John had taken to the study of birds, even raising them on the family farm. Basing his designs on the wings of seagulls and pelicans, even falcons, Montgomery constructed the first of several fixed-wing gliders. His gull gliders were ribbed with thin strips of wood and covered with sheets of muslin sewn together by his sister Jane. The gentle sea breeze and sloping hills in Otay Mesa were perfect to test his glider, and with the help of his brother James, John J. Montgomery would make aviation history and even inspire Hollywood. In 1946, Glenn Ford starred in the film Gallant Journey, which portrays Montgomery's uplifting achievement. After flying for 600 feet and landing on the rolling hills of South San Diego, John J. Montgomery becomes the first to attain controlled flight in a heavier-than-air craft. His work would serve as inspiration to other aviation pioneers, including Octave Chanute and the Lockheed brothers. Through the turn of the century, Montgomery would earn patents for other inventions: a petroleum burner, a dynamo, a process to vulcanize rubber. He also received a PhD from Santa Clara College and taught science. In 1903, months before the Wright brothers' historic flight on the dunes at Kitty Hawk, Montgomery returned to his glider experiments when a circus performer suggested a high-flying act. 2 years later, it took wing. In 1905, on the campus of Santa Clara College, a stuntman named Daniel Maloney climbed into Montgomery's latest invention, a glider he dubbed Santa Clara after his college. The event was advertised as the most daring feat ever accomplished by man, a chance to witness this marvelous scientific wonder in what was now being called the Montgomery aeroplane. Before a crowd of 1,000, this tandem-winged wonder was lifted into the sky by a hot air balloon. At 4,000 feet, Maloney hit the release, a moment also recreated by Hollywood. In 1906, Montgomery received a patent for his new aeroplane, but it was the same year that would keep his plans grounded. On the morning of April 18th, a magnitude 7.8 earthquake rocked San Francisco like never before. Montgomery turned his attention to helping his fellow man with the recovery. 4 years later, he married sweetheart Regina Cleary, and returned to aviation, building a unique monoplane called Evergreen. Montgomery's tests were so successful, he planned to add a motor and apply for a patent, but it was not to be. On his 52nd test flight over the San Jose hillside, an updraft caused the Evergreen to crash. Montgomery was at the controls and would not survive. But his accomplishments and memory live on. On what is now Montgomery Hill at Evergreen College in San Jose stands a giant glider wing, and at Otay Mesa another wing from a consolidated B-32 on the spot where Montgomery stepped into the air for the first time. In 1950, Montgomery Field in Kearny Mesa was dedicated in his honor. The man who invented the telephone, Alexander Graham Bell, once said, "All subsequent attempts in aviation must begin with the Montgomery machine." The next time you look to the heavens and see an airplane above, or visit the San Diego Air and Space Museum, where his original Evergreen monoplane is still aloft with inspiration, remember the man who came before the Wright brothers. Remember John J. Montgomery.